Hello, my name is Brian Willis. I'm one of the Azure Sphere experts here at Avnet, and today I'm going to do a video to teach you about Azure Sphere over-the-air updates and a demo showing you the over-the-air update infrastructure and process in action. So just a quick review of the agenda. We're going to do an introduction to the over-the-air update deployments, talk about all the different pieces, and then I'll do a demo where I'm actually going to create an over-the-air deployment from scratch, and then we'll upload a couple of different images and show devices update in real time. And then I've put together some online resources for you as well. This document is available for download. If you look in the description below, there's going to be a link. So there's different pieces to over-the-air deployments, and Microsoft really has done a fantastic job of documenting all this. So let me pull up that online documentation real quick and we'll review these different concepts. So I'm just going to do a quick search for Azure Sphere documentation. And then if we look under deployment and operations and concepts, there's a link here for deployment basics. And so a deployment involves grouping the Azure Sphere devices that should run the same application and OS versions, packaging the applications that you want to run on each of these devices, and then uploading those packages to the Azure Sphere Security Service, and then assigning the deployment to a group of devices. There's a lot of information here. I'm just going to kind of touch on a couple of the high-level ones. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a product, and here it says that a product identifies an Azure Sphere MCU that is incorporated into a connected device to perform a specific function. As the manufacturer, you create a product for each model of a connected device, such as a dishwasher or coffee maker. For example, Contesso creates a product for its DW100 dishwasher and assigns this product to each DW100 dishwasher during manufacturing. Then each product has a GUID that is unique within the tenant and cannot be changed. So we're going to create a product, and then inside that product there's going to be device groups. And a device group is a named collection of devices of the same product type. Device groups provide a way to scale application deployment to many devices. Each device belongs to exactly one device group, and each device group belongs to exactly one product. When we create this product, there's going to be some default device groups that are created within the product to assist with basic functionality such as testing and production deployment, but you can create as many custom device groups as you want. Application. So an application is a program that performs a specific task specific to certain connected devices. So the deployment delivers the application to the products that are associated with those connected devices. And then image and image packages. So an image is a binary file that represents a single version of an application or board configuration. Images are immutable, so you cannot modify an image after it's been uploaded. For an application, the image includes the binaries for the application along with its metadata. An image package is the combination of the image with its metadata that is produced by the build process. Okay, and then deployment. So that in the simplest terms, the deployment is the delivery of a set of image packages to one or more devices. And we're going to show how to do this. So we're just going to kind of do that in real time. So let's look at a picture of what all that looks like. So here's a diagram, and this diagram shows our Azure Sphere tenant at the top level. And of course, our Azure Sphere tenant has users, right, that have specific privileges to do things. And then underneath the tenant, or contained within the tenant, are products. And so in this example here, I'm showing a product called Blink 182, product X, and then product N. And underneath each of these products are device groups. Okay, so the default device groups that are going to be created when we create a product are development, field test, production, production OS evaluation, field test OS, and field test OS evaluation. And then, as I mentioned before, you can create custom device groups for whatever purpose you want. Maybe you want to deploy your devices or manage your devices by region or by model number or by hardware revision or whatever you can think of. The sky's the limit on how you can organize these device groups. And then within each device group, sorry about that, within each device group we have these following attributes. So it has a name, and it has an OS feed associated with it. And that's going to, right now, that's either retail or retail OS evaluation. This defines which Azure Sphere operating system will be pushed to the device and updated to each device as updates roll out. And then there's an update policy. And so basically this policy says either allow over-the-air updates for the user applications or don't. And then we have deployments and a history of deployments. And so within a deployment, we have one or more applications, and these are the image packages that I described briefly a minute ago. And so this one shows 3 different applications in deployment N, but there's also a history of the deployments that you can go back and look at. So you can look at what each of the previous deployments contained, including all the details for their applications that were contained within that deployment. So there's only one active deployment at a time, and that's the most recent one. And then we have a list of Azure Sphere devices, and these are listed by Azure Sphere device IDs. So that's what the big picture looks like. So let's jump into the demo. So this is what we're going to do for the demo. First off, we're going to add an image package that I've already created to the Azure Sphere tenant. And then we're going to create a new product. And then we'll take a quick look at what the device groups look like. Then we're going to add 2 devices to the production device group. And then I've got a video camera on the 2 devices that I have, and we'll see that the applications get pushed down and start automatically. And then we'll upload a different image that has a different behavior, and then I'll reset the devices, and we'll see that the updates will occur. And then we'll walk through a scenario where maybe we want to roll back the image for whatever reason. Maybe we introduce some bugs, or maybe whatever the reasons are, but we can roll it back, and I want to show you that as well. So there's a couple of documents that we've created here at Avnet that really walk through this whole process, and there's links to these documents at the end of the presentation. But basically, there's a over-the-air update lab that I'm basically walking through right now. And then there's also another document, because I tend to be long-winded in my writing. There's another document I created called the cheat sheet, the over-the-air update cheat sheet. And I've also got a link to this. And actually, I'm just going to be using the cheat sheet just because it's got all the commands that I need to do everything that we're going to do. So let's go ahead and start that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the image to our Azure Sphere tenant. And so we do that with this command. And I'm just going to go, I've already loaded up my Windows PowerShell. And I've already changed to a directory that has the binaries in it. And so, I've got 2 Azure Sphere images created. Both of them do the same thing. They just blink an LED, RGB LED. One image blinks the red component of the RGB LED, and the other application blinks the green component of the RGB LED. And so to upload these to my Azure Sphere tenant, first I need to make sure I'm logged into my tenant. If you're not logged in, you will be prompted to log into your Azure Sphere tenant. And then all I do is I use this AZ Sphere image add -- image and then images here. So I'm just going to upload this image. And so, so this image is being transferred up to my Azure Sphere tenant. And we can see here that the image ID, component ID, and component name are listed. And this image ID, this is a unique ID that's generated by the Azure Sphere Security Service. Okay, so this is how I'm going to refer to my application when I do some additional commands. This component ID is pulled directly out of the Azure Sphere application manifest file, as is the component name. So this is the name that I've defined at the top of my app manifest JSON file. And so what happens when this this image gets pushed up to the security service is that it gets signed. It gets signed by Microsoft. So that way, when this application gets pushed down to my device, that device can verify that it's been signed by Microsoft, and it won't run the application unless that passed checks, as well as some other checks. Okay, so I've uploaded my image. So the next thing is, let's go ahead and create a new product. Okay, so this is the command AZ Sphere product create -- name, and then we're going to give it a product name. So if I just paste that in, paste that in, and then for the name I'm going to say I'm going to call it OTA demo, like that, and it's going to create my product, and it's going to create these default device groups. So let's just take a look at those. So here it told me that I can use the AZ Sphere product device group list command to see those. So let's do that. And I don't remember what the arguments are, so I'm just going to ask. So it says it just needs the product. Okay. And let's see. I'm not sure if I can use the product name. Let's try to use the product name, OTA demo. Nope, it wants the GUID probably. Oh, now I got to give it the -p or the dash. Let's do that. -p, and then I know, just because I've done this a bunch of times, that, and I'll just show you the output. The output is going to be too big for the screen, and it's going to wrap, and it's going to be ugly. See, but I can also do -o for output and ask for it in JSON format, and this is going to be a little bit easier to read. And so each of these blocks defines one of the default device groups that have been automatically created under my product. And so you can see what all the different attributes are, right? So allow crash dump collection, current deployment, and there's none, right, because we haven't created a deployment yet. It's got a description, it's got a GUID ID, it's got a name. Here's that OS feed, right? So this one is retail. And product ID and tenant and update policy. So this is the no third-party updates. I'm sorry, this is the development device group. And so this update policy says don't apply any application updates, any user application updates to devices in this device group, which makes sense, because if I'm doing development and my Azure Sphere devices in the development device group, I don't want the Azure Sphere Security Service pushing down applications while I'm doing development and debug. So let's look at another one. So here's the retail eval, or this, that's not what I was looking for. Let's see. Okay, so here's the field test OS evaluation. So notice in this one, the OS feed is the retail eval. So this is going to get that preview look of the retail OS, right? Usually 2 weeks before the retail is pushed out. And then the update policy is update all. So any Azure Sphere user applications that are assigned to this device group will get pushed down to all devices in this device group. So that's just a quick look at all the different canned device groups. But as I mentioned before, and here's the command to do it, you can also create custom device groups also. And so there's good detailed documentation. And when you create that additional device group, you get to define all those things, which OS feed it gets, what the update policy is, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we've created a product. Let's see, where's our picture? Okay, so we've created a product, right, called OTA Demo. It's got these default device groups in it. And we're gonna use the production device group today. And so we've already uploaded one application, right? So we have an application in our tenant that we're going to use, and we know what its ID is because we can look at the history. And so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add devices into our device group. Okay, so I want to show you how to do that 2 different ways. So the first way is if we've got a device that's we've been doing development with this device and we want to move it into a production device group, we can use this command here. So I've got 2 devices that we're going to use for the demo. So only one of these is connected to my computer. This Rev2 board in the green case is connected to my development PC. The Rev1 device down here in the black case is just connected to power. And the Rev2 device, the green one, is currently in development enable mode. Okay, so if we go back and get our command here, so I'm going to execute this command here, and this is going to add the device that's currently connected to my PC to the OTA demo product and the production device group. Okay, so I'll do this command. And so what we'll see is that since this device was already in enable development mode, it needs to download the configuration file and apply that and remove any applications that were on the device. Okay, so that's all happened. And then for the second device I have, we're going to use this command. And what's really nice about this command is that all we have to do is provide the device ID. And so you could imagine in a production environment, you might have a database or a text file or something that contains, hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands even of Azure Sphere device IDs that you want to move into a device group. You could just run a script and use this command to do that. And so I've captured my device ID. Let me copy that. Okay, so that's my device ID, and then again I'm going to put this into the OTA demo production device group. Okay, and so that's done. And so now we go back to our picture, right? So we've done everything for this production device group except for create this deployment, right? So I've got devices that are in this device group. We can look at these, and there's no code on there yet. If there was code on, there'd be some blinking LED. The RGB LEDs are over here in this corner. But since we haven't created that deployment yet, there's no code being pushed down. So actually, I'm going to just pause for a second, and I'm going to add wireless networks to my devices. Otherwise, I guarantee they're not going to download. So let me just pause for a second and do that. Okay, so both of my devices are now on my Wi-Fi network. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create this deployment. Let's see. Okay, so here's the command right here. Okay, so the command is AZSphere device group deployment create, and so I have to tell it which device group, right? So that's going to be that OTA demo production device group, and then I need to give it the image ID, which if I go find where I uploaded that, let's see. Okay, so here it is right here. So this is where I did the AZSphere image add, and its image ID is this guy. So I'm going to copy that, go back to my command line, and just paste that in right there. Okay, so there you go. AZSphere device group deployment create. Told it which device group to put it in, and I gave it that image ID. And so now, while that's doing that, let's just keep an eye on these devices because they should receive the updates pretty quickly. So the Azure Sphere devices, so the way they check in with the Azure Sphere security service is at boot time, the device will do a device authentication and attestation step, and as part of that step, there will be a confirmation as far as which applications are running on the device and which application should be running on the device based on the device group. And then approximately every 24 hours after that initial boot, the device will do that DAA step again, and it'll verify that it's running the correct software. And so it looks like since these devices have already booted up and they're already on the network, they're not really phoning home. So I'm just going to hit the reset button. So the reset button on this guy, and the reset button on this guy. And so now, as soon as these devices boot up, they're going to do that DAA step, and they're going to get the application pushed out to them. And we should see a blinking LED. There's the Rev 2 board, and there's the Rev 1 board. So there you go. So just that quick, the devices have received that application over the air. Pretty slick. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to update the deployment. Okay, so if I go back to my command line, let's see. Instead of the red one, I'm going to put the green one up there. So I'm just uploading the image to the Azure Sphere Security Service, to my tenant. Okay, and there we got the component ID is the same as before because I used the same project. I did change the component name to reflect the color, so this one says green, and it has a new, different, unique image ID. So I'm just going to copy that. And then if I go find this one here, the AZ Sphere device device group deployment create, I'm just going to replace this GUID with the new GUID. And so I've just updated that deployment, okay? And so, of course, we're still seeing green because the devices haven't checked in. But if we look at this picture here, so deployment 2 in this picture is the one that we just had with the red LED, and then we just created a new deployment, the new current deployment with the green application. And again, if we wanted to wait 24 hours, this would happen automatically. But since we don't want to do that, I'm just going to hit the reset button on both of these. And it's going to start up with the red LED because that image package is on the device and it's signed by Microsoft, and that signature verifies, right? So it's a valid application. But in the background, that DAA step is going on, and the OS services are going to determine that there's a new application. So there you go. So that one's got the new application, and now the second one has the new application. Pretty slick, huh? Okay, so the last thing that we want to do is we want to talk about a scenario where we want to roll it back. Okay, so here's a make-believe situation. So the team, we just rolled out this new application that flashed the green LED. Everything went through validation, and we made the decision to release this, but we're getting a lot of customer complaints. The existing customers don't like the new color for whatever reason. So we have some engineering management meetings, and we decide, there's two different things we can do. We can create a brand new deployment, right, where we change the color back to red, and we can put that application through test, right, and put it through the validation process and roll it out. So that's our standard process, our standard development process. But the team has a discussion about the previous application with the red LED, and you know what, that version didn't really have any outstanding critical bugs written against it, and we don't really want to take the time that would be required to put the product through validation if we made another change. So we make the decision that we're just going to roll it back to the previous version. So let's see how to do that. So the way we do that is we just use the Azure Sphere Device Group Deployment Create command again, right? Because that image is already in the cloud, and so if we select the command that we sent that had the original application GUID in it, we can just throw that in there, and that's going to create a third deployment in our device group. It's basically the same deployment that was there before, but it's considered a new deployment. And then if I go back and reset my devices, again we're going to see the green LEDs flash at first while that DAA step is going on, and then it's going to push down the red application, and we should see the red application take over here pretty quickly. Okay, there's the green one, there we go, there's red, and there's red again. So pretty nice, and think about this at scale, right? So I mean, I'm just doing this demo with 2 devices, but you could have literally hundreds of thousands of devices in this device group, and as each of those devices boots for the first time or phones home again, checks in with the Azure Sphere Security Service every 24 hours, each of those devices, every single one of them, as long as they're online, will receive the new application over the air. So that's the demo. So let me just review with you really quickly the links that I created, and I'm going to share with you. And so, so here's a link to the Azure Sphere OTA documentation. But I also showed you how to find that really quickly with Google. Here is a link to the over-the-air update lab that I showed you, and here's a link to that cheat sheet that I showed you. And then under Avnet Links, we actually have created a lot of Azure Sphere labs that we use when we train engineering teams how to do development with Azure Sphere. Every single one of those labs is captured on a blog here, and those labs are always up to date. Whenever something changes, we always update those documents. And we also have a lot of other Avnet Azure Sphere content on Element 14. So we have a lot of blogs that show how to do different demo applications that we've done. For example, there's one that uses a layered BT510 Bluetooth device that just advertises temperature data and some other data. So there's a lot of really good content there. Here's a link if you want to buy the Azure Sphere Starter Kit or find all the documentation associated with it. Same thing, we have a Azure Sphere Guardian 100 device that's a Azure Sphere device that has an Ethernet downstream connection on it. Avnet has our own cloud solution called IoT Connect. If you're interested in that, there's a link to that landing page. And then Avnet also has a very large, capable IoT consulting team that if you need help with your IoT journey, for all of it or any one piece of it, including deciding if IoT is a good choice for the problem that you're trying to solve, to hardware design and manufacturing and software work and lifecycle management and everything in between from the beginning to the end. Avnet has a team that can help you with any piece of that or all of that. And that's all I had today. So I really hope that that you are impressed with the over-the-air update capabilities of the Azure Sphere system. It's very robust. It's very scalable. It uses servers. It uses update servers globally. So there's all these Microsoft data centers have these capabilities, and you get it for free with Azure Sphere. Thank you for your time.